Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Game Week 13 Big Differential video. Of course, this is players all under 10% owned, and that is the eligibility to get into this video. But before we go any further onto the content, I'd like to thank you all very much for the support on the channel. We are rapidly approaching 1,500 subscribers, and that is the big target at the minute on the channel. So if you could go ahead down below and smash the subscribe button, it's completely free and it helps out massively. And without further ado, let's crack on with the content. Yes, this is indeed the Game Week 13 Big Differential video, and it could be the biggest one of the season so far. Many of you gearing up to use potential boosters. This is the first domestic double, of course, Premier League fixture, both back to back. Game Week 17 is the next one, and we'll speak a little bit later on in the video. What is the best chip to use this week, and is this the best week to actually use a chip? Now, thank you very much for the support on the channel. It's been incredible over the last few weeks and days. The channel's growing massively. A video from a couple of weeks ago is flying view-wise, and I can't thank you all enough for the support on the channel. If you could go ahead and hit the like button as well. 100 is the target on all Dream Team videos, so that would be greatly appreciated. So for today, we will start on the goalkeepers. As I said in the intro, the necessary criteria to get into this video is you have to be under 10% owned in the game. That makes you a differential in my eyes. So the 5 goalkeepers I've chosen for today's video: Donnarumma of Manchester City, Sanchez of Chelsea, Sells of Nottingham Forest, Alisson Becker of Liverpool, and Emi Martinez of Aston Villa. Now, despite this being a Premier League double in Game Week 13, I'm still heavily leaning on the European players. Now, you might be thinking, George, why is that the case? Yes, Game Week 13, it might be good, but we don't want to be bringing in players for 1 week that we might have to take out the following week, put ourselves behind the 8 ball and snooker ourselves basically going forward for transfers. I think this way it gives us a good balance, good doubling game weekers, yet our team still look good from Game Week 14 onwards. Now, first up, Donnarumma. Unfortunately, he was benched in last night's game for Manchester City. For reference, this is being recorded on Wednesday afternoon. James Trafford played in goal for Man City and looked awful, as he did do at the start of the season. Donnarumma brings that star quality in goal. 8% owned, 4.3 million in price. 9 save points and not too many on that front. Only 9 goals conceded since he came into the City team. I think it was at the start of September. 63 points overall and nearly 5 points average per game. Very solid return. Robert Sanchez, 7.6% owned, 3.7 million in price, which is a very good value and route to get into that Chelsea defence that has been keeping lots of clean sheets recently. Only 10 save points throughout the campaign so far, so not very good on that front. 16 goals conceded. He's been bumped up from the orange thing on the data and the charts to a green one because Chelsea have kept back-to-back clean sheets this week, and he has been involved in both fixtures. 73 points and 4.3 points average per game, which is really solid for a 3.7 million goalkeeper. Matt Sells in goal. Didn't play, unfortunately, for Nottingham Forest in the last Europa League game. 3% owned, only 3 million in value, which is a very good route into that Forest defence. Of course, we do have other options that we'll get to in a little while. 18 save points, so his gloves have been well worked so far this campaign. 22 goals conceded, not too great, but under Sean Dyche, that defence has been tightened up substantially. 45 points overall and only 3 average points. But you have to look at Forest season in 3 different segments, under Nuno, under Ange, and now under Sean Dyche. And it does look like that defensive line has had that Sean Dyche touch to it. Alisson Becker now back into the Liverpool lineup. Mamardashvili dropped straight to the bench. Yes, Liverpool's defence hasn't been great, but for 4.1 million, he does offer routes into bonus points and save points. So 6 for him so far this campaign, but he has been missing for the majority, of course, through injury. 13 goals conceded, though, even whilst he was in goal. Not too good, especially when you consider how good their defensive data was in the last season when they won the title. 31 points, 3.4 average per game. But you look at the Liverpool fixtures and they are really good going forward. Yes, you could have other routes into that Liverpool defence. Robertson, Frimpong when he comes back from injury. But you'd say the only stable ones currently are Konate. And if you look at his performances, they've been really, really poor. Virgil van Dijk. You'd assume Van Dijk and Alisson are on pretty much every team sheet when they are fit. But Van Dijk, his price is plummeting and it's anchoring out. 0.3 drops in back-to-back weeks, it's looking like, and Alisson might be the better route. Emi Martinez, very expensive, 1% owned so far, 4.5 million in price, which is way higher than I thought he would be. 9 save points. Of course, at the start of the season, he did miss the odd game here and there through injury. I think it was Bizzo, the interview with Unai Emery, of course, the famous one. He came into goal, he did okay, but Emi Martinez is their number one. Only 10 goals conceded with Martinez in net. And if you watch the Leeds game at the weekend, he looked poor. He was at fault for the goal, but he just picks up clean sheets. And when you look at Villa in Europe and their form since after game week 6, I believe, they've really turned things around. 56 points and 4.7 points average per game. Do you get value for money for Martinez? Probably not, but the Villa clean sheets are coming thick and fast recently. So they are the goalkeepers for this game week differential video. On to the defenders for this one, and we're starting things off with Ruben Dias of Manchester City. Of course, last night it was mass rotation in the City side, and it cost them in the Champions League a 2-0 defeat at home to Bayer Leverkusen. I think the only player that survived from the weekend fixture was Gonzalez in midfield, and they had no cohesion, and it definitely showed. Haaland, surprise benching, so for those of us who did captain him, it's not gone too well this week. 7.8% ownership for Dias, 4.3 million in price, which is a bit expensive. 9 bonus points, only 2 tackle points. So it does seem like it's a potential bonus point on top of a clean sheet. Of course, this week he did get the attacking return. He got the goal against Newcastle, so that will really help him out for a potential price increase going into game week 13. 79 points overall for the season and nearly 5 average points per game as well, which is pretty decent. Reece James, 7.6% ownership, 3.9 million in value. Of course, did get taken off at half time against Burnley, which is always the downside to Reece James. But it seems like he is playing a more midfield role alongside Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez. So, with Cole Palmer potentially coming back into the fold for Chelsea, what does that do for Reece James's minutes? I'm not too sure. Probably lessens them slightly. Rotates with Gusto at right back more than anything in that Chelsea lineup, more than likely. 10 bonus points, 6 tackle points, which is pretty decent, 80 total points overall, and 5 average points per game. So even when he's not picking up clean sheets, he's definitely picking up points from elsewhere, which is exactly what we want from our defenders. Next up, Murillo of Nottingham Forest. As I spoke about with Matt Sells in the last section, the Forest defenders are really coming into their own at the minute. Murillo picked up an injury at the start of the campaign. That Forest defensive lineup, lots of changes, of course. Zinchenko came in, Oleana got his injury. 3 different managers so far this season, but finally it does look like they are becoming slightly more like there was last season. 3 million in price, 4 bonus points, 6 tackle points, only 41 points overall this season, so it does get a big red mark on the graph. But as I spoke about under Sean Dyche, I'd probably give that a green mark so far, so that is definitely something to note. 3.4 average points so far this season. But with him going up 0.3 in value, more than likely, of course, dependent on that Europa League game on Thursday, I do think he is a really good option. Of course, Savona at right back is another one, and Milenkovic, another great option. Next up, a bit of a rogue shout. Of course, Gabriel's injury has opened the door. We didn't know if it was going to be Mosquera or Hincapié, and it is Hincapié. 0.3% ownership, 3.8 million in price. How long he's going to stay in that Arsenal lineup, we don't know. Arteta keeps saying weeks for Gabriel. Personally, I do think it will be the new year, but we never know. 2 bonus points, only 1 tackle point, 22 points overall, and 3.7 points average per game. Of course, those graphs and statistics do have to be taken with a pinch of salt. I think bar 1 or 2 he's played, they've all been substitute appearances. He came on at left back in one game for just a 1-pointer. But now he's playing as a left centre half in the absence of Gabriel. He did come off with what looked like cramp in the North London derby, and Mosquera came on, so that is always going to be the doubt lingering in the back of our minds. Will Mosquera get a game instead of Hincapié? There is potential, but for only 3.8 million in an Arsenal defence where the assets are normally touching 5 million, it could be a really good route, especially with some decent fixtures coming up after game week 13. Though Chelsea away, difficult fixture, but Brentford at home onwards does offer lots of routes to points. And finally, Matty Cash for the defenders, 7.4% owned, 3.8 million in price, 6 bonus points, 9 tackle points. So not only is he offering something going forward, he's also offering a lot of reliability in defence. 90 total points so far this season, so a ridiculous return for Matty Cash, and 5.6 average points per game. So he's touching, not quite though. Of course, if you get appearance points and clean sheet points, that is 7 points for the game week. So if you're looking at 6 points just for turning up and picking up bits and pieces without a clean sheet, I think he is a very, very good asset. You got Conser, you got Cash, you got Pau Torres at the minute in that Villa back four, and of course Emi Martinez. It's a solid unit. Tielemans coming back into that midfield will help him out, but Matty Cash as an asset, he's been ticking along nicely all season. The midfielders are up next, and there are a few rogue shouts on today's list. First up, once again, Bruno Fernandes picked up a few points in game week 12. Of course, it was a very disappointing result at home to a 10-man Everton side for the majority of that fixture. 9.5% ownership, 5.9 million in price, so a very hefty price tag, attached to Bruno Fernandes. 10 shots on target, 12 bonus points, 71 points for the season, and 5.5 points average per game. Of course, if he would have tucked away those 2 penalties that he missed, you're looking at nearly over 6 average points per game, not including European fixtures, of course. Now he's into a double game week. Yes, they do have Palace away as one of the fixtures, but I can still see him picking up bits and pieces and perhaps an attacking return as well. But it's going to take a huge chunk out of your budget, and of course, you will have to move him on for game week 14. Next up, a man that we're all hoping comes back and starts firing on all cylinders for Sun Dream Team, and that is Cole Palmer. Not appeared since the start of the campaign, of course. Got his injury against West Ham, was dropped out the starting lineup, started against Man United the week after, and we haven't seen him since. If the news is to be believed, he is on the curb and on the cusp of returning into that Chelsea lineup. They will manage his minutes, so that is something to note. But I think he will play against Arsenal. 9.4% ownership, so this might be the only video of the entire year where Cole Palmer appears under 10%, because once he's in that Chelsea team, he's going to be in our teams as well. 5.5 million in price, so towards the top end, especially for someone we might not be able to rely on for minutes, but we know what Cole Palmer can do when he's on the pitch. 3 shots on target, no bonus points, of course, only 22 points for the season, but 5.5 points average per game. Goes to show when he's on the pitch, he's doing great things for that Chelsea side. We just have to we might have to wait and see a little while longer for him. But when he's in, he's going to be incredible. Gibbs White really turned things up recently. Same as Murillo at the back and Sells. There's a lot of Nottingham Forest theme in this video, and that's because under Sean Dyche, they are showing much better form. 5.2% ownership, 4.5 million price. So that mid 4 million price range, not too expensive, but not on the cheap side of things. 13 shots on target so far this season. A very, very good output for him in midfield. Of course, he played more of a slightly defensive, creative role at the start alongside players like Anderson and Douglas Luiz, but he's now pushing on into a more of an advanced number 10 role. 6 bonus points, 84 points total this season so far, but just under that 5 average point threshold because he has had those European fixtures, of course. Bruno Guimaraes, a player that is flying under the radar, 3.7% ownership, 5.1 million in price, so over that 5 million threshold, 7 shots on target, 8 bonus points, 97 points overall with 5.4 average points per game. Really did surprise me. He is turned into the more box crashing midfielder out of the 3. Used to be Joelinton. You've got Tonali playing at the base of that midfield 3, but Bruno Guimaraes is getting forward. He picked himself up a couple of assists. I think it was in game week 11. Game week 12 is once again shown his worth in that Newcastle side. Attacking returns, bonus points, tackles, shots on target. He is the midfield general. He's the captain of that team, I believe. Correct me down below, Newcastle fans, if that's not the case. I know Trippier used to have it, but he is the leader in that midfield for Newcastle. And finally, on today's list, are more than likely going to be the man on the thumbnail if I can find a picture for him, and that is Morgan Rogers. It says 4% ownership, but that is meant to say 3.4%. Couldn't fix it on the graph. My apologies for that. 4.7 million in price, 12 shots on target, 3 bonus points, and one of them was against Leeds at the weekend. 77 points total, 4.5 average points per game. Scored twice. Of course, we haven't yet seen him in the Europa League for Villa, if he plays or not, of course. Scored both goals very well, took the free kick. It was his first free kick taken in his entire career, the stats said, and stuck it in the back of the net. If it can be anything like the Morgan Rogers from last season, especially with good fixtures coming up, I think they've got Wolves as part of the double this week as well. He's going to be a fantastic asset to own. Villa, do we finally go there for all their attacking players? Ollie Watkins don't make this list, of course. Well, he won't make the list for the attackers. That's a spoiler coming up. He's been awful. But players like John McGinn have ticked over really nicely this season, and perhaps it's now Morgan Rogers' turn. Breaking news with regard to the last segment we've had from Sean Dyche in his press conference since I last recorded it, and that is Gibbs White will be missing the Europa League fixture with a flare-up of an injury. It's not yet been specified, but it's also a race to be fit for the game on Sunday for them. So that is a huge caveat and a huge asterisk against his name. So do bear that in mind if you are putting him in as a differential. He might be fit, he might not be fit, but it will be a race against time. Now moving on to the attackers, the final part for the Game Week 13 big differential video. A little point towards the goal bonus. Of course, many people will be playing the goal boost this week, targeting the Haaland at home to Leeds fixture. Great for captaincy, of course. But this is always the trickiest part for these game week differential videos, the attackers. And that is because there's, bar Haaland, no one really firing on all cylinders. Of course, the ownership being under 10% doesn't help. So anyone who's over 10% is normally scoring pretty decently. A player that's been on these lists quite often is Igor Thiago, and he has actually jumped to 12%. So we lose another one. We lost Mateta a few weeks ago, and we've lost him, of course, as well. He's playing Burnley at home and Arsenal away, so it makes sense. So for this list, we've got Gakpo, Richarlison, Alexander Isak, Igor Jesus, and Liam Delap. Now, Gakpo, 8.7% owned, 4.4 million in price, 8 shots on target, 7 goal involvements, 88 points, but most of them are from the start of the campaign, and 5.5 points average per game, so it's pretty decent still. Liverpool fixtures, West Ham away and Sunderland at home in game week 13. Wirtz, it looks like he's still going to be out with his injury, so you'd assume Gakpo continues on the left-hand side. Whether he starts in the Champions League, of course, is still yet to be seen. Offers a really good route to points, very attacking, not shy of a shot, and that is something that we are after. For me, the goal boost this week is heavily reliant upon Erling Haaland. To me, the best chip to play this week is the goal boost. I wouldn't be playing max captaincy at all. If someone plays a goal boost and you play a max captaincy and Haaland goes off, it completely cancels out your max captaincy. And in fact, they get more points than you, so your chip is pretty much rendered useless. 12th man, huge potential there, of course. But once again, if you are planning to captain Erling Haaland and you think he's going to score a ridiculous amount of goals, I'm talking 4+ over the 2 fixtures. So for Manchester City, they've got Leeds at home and Fulham away. Fulham, yes, they've been struggling, but at Craven Cottage, they tend to be tight defensively. But Leeds at home could be a mauling goal-wise. So to me, goal boost is the best. Will I be playing it for my own team? I'm not sure yet. It's either game week 13 or game week 17. Both doubles for Premier League games, of course. I just don't see many attackers scoring too many points. Richarlison, 6.6% owned, 2.8 million in price, so went up from 2.5 in game week 11 to 2.8. Got the goal against Arsenal, very well taken goal from nearly the halfway line. Lobbed the goalkeeper, 12 shots on target this season, 7 goal involvements, 74 points and 4.2 points average per game. But for 2.8 million, of course, Kolo Muani is lurking in the background. But I think Richarlison just gets you goals. He might not necessarily be the best focal point for that Tottenham side, but he tends to pick up goals. He did against Man United at home and he did against Arsenal away. 2.8 million, very good price. Alexander Isak, 2.4% owned, nearly 6 million in value. He looked awful last week, there's no denying that, but we know what he's capable of. 7 shots on target, only 2 goal involvements, which was an assist against Chelsea and a goal against Southampton in the Carabao Cup. 31 total points, but same as Gakpo, West Ham away and Sunderland at home. I think he'll play one, maybe a substitute appearance in the other, but for that price, it's just too expensive. 3.4 average points per game so far this season. Igor Jesus for Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood still ruled out injured, it looks like. 2.3 million in price, which is a very, very good price for a Forest side that do have some decent fixtures. Brighton at home and Wolves away, two sides that you'd expect Forest to score against. Of course, if Gibbs White is out injured, that's going to affect their creativity. 10 shots on target, 6 goal involvements, 62 points, which is probably a bit harsh to leave him in that orange zone, and 4.1 average points per game. But 2.3 million would be a great differential. Of course, he will still be available for the doubles afterwards as well for Forest in the Europa League. And the final player on today's list is Liam Delap. 2.3% owned, 3.5 million price in value, 4 shots on target, finally 1 goal involvement, picked himself up a goal against 10-man Barcelona in the Champions League, Arsenal at home, and then Leeds away in game week 13. So tricky fixtures, not the easiest home fixture, and of course Leeds away, we saw how tricky it was for Aston Villa last week. They went a goal down and Leeds just ran out of legs in the end. 18 total points, of course, 2.3 average points per game. That's heavily affected by his injury. He was out for 2.5, 3 months-ish. So Delap, he's starting more minutes. He's coming off the bench as well, so he's very readily available. They are still going to be wary for him. But for me, the best player on this list is Richarlison. Spurs not looking great offensively, but he will be on penalties, it looks like. He's 2.8 million. He has the potential to score goals from out of nowhere. He doesn't necessarily pick you up bits and pieces, which is what we like from our defenders and midfielders. But for 2.8 million, he might be worth a shot. And that is why the goal boost this week is so tricky to predict. It's Erling Haaland or bust. That does indeed conclude today's video, the big Game Week 13 differential, the first Premier League double of the season. Leave a comment down below on what your plans are going into the deadline. I believe it's a 3 o'clock deadline with no dinner time game. What boosters are you using? Are you on the goal booster train this week? Is it a 12th man or is it a max captain kind of week? Don't forget to leave a like on today's video. 100 is the target as always. Also, down below, hit the hype points. I think that helps the channel out massively. I don't really know what they do, but thankful for them nonetheless, and they really do help push the video out to all potential Sun Dream Team viewers. Down below in the description are my socials. We've got Instagram, we've got TikTok, and I'm closing in on 500 followers on X, so do go check it out. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss an upload in the future. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Hit the subscribe button down below. 1,500 is the target. We're rapidly approaching it and the channel is growing by the day. So thank you very much for watching today's video, and you'll be seeing me in a new one very soon.